In 1768, James Brindley decided on the village of Lower Mitton as the location for the port connecting the River Severn with the canal network of the industrial Midlands. Over the following 3 decades, the village was transformed into the thriving Georgian canal town of Stourport. The 19th century saw the decline of the trade on the canals, and therefore the town, and apart from its attraction as a destination for day trippers, Stourport and its basins lost their popularity. Widely believed to be the best example of a canal-inspired town, the continuing decline of the basins was of concern to many. And so, in 1995, began a 10-year process to secure funding for the consolidation and enhancement of this fascinating historic inland port. Hello, my name is Alex Ball and I'm the project manager of the Stourport Basins restoration.
Hello, my name is Chris Bailey and I am the external funding manager for the West Midlands Waterways. British Waterways are the current owner of the basins and have delivered a restoration programme in partnership with the Heritage Lottery Fund, Advantage West Midlands, the Town, District and County Council, along with Arts Council, England and various other agencies. British Waterways applied to the Heritage Lottery Fund for 1.7 million towards the restoration programme. In April 2005, heard the good news that we had been successful. Alex had worked on the bid to the Heritage Lottery Fund and applied for the role of project manager and was appointed in July 2005. And early 2007 we appointed an assistant project manager in Susanna Ronan. The project was completed in July 2008.
The Basins Restoration Project received £250,000 from Advantage West Midlands via Stourport Forward. The Stourport Forward programme, a Market Towns initiative scheme, had the Basins restoration as its cornerstone project and in 2005 was already secured funds. But the project could not continue until British Waterways had offered to be the accountable body for the programme. Liz Donnell was the programme manager and worked closely with the Basin Restoration team. Our partnership won a number of awards, including the Action for Market Towns Award and the Regen WM Award for Best Regeneration Team. The Stourport Basins Restoration Project is a multifaceted project enhanced by a groundbreaking arts programme, volunteering elements, environmental improvements and community involvement. Costing a total of £3.3 million, this has achieved a multitude of successes and forms one of a small number of catalysts to other local enhancement schemes and developments, particularly neighbouring developments on Lichfield Basin and the restoration of the former Tontine Hotel. Wyre Forest District Council has undertaken a number of town improvements also in partnership with Worcestershire County Council, English Heritage and Stourport Forward.
The project had 4 fundamental objectives. Firstly, to restore 29 listed structures, provide 4 new gateways into the basins, to double the number of visitors, and all this should generate 70 full-time jobs. The construction work consisted of building repairs, engineering works and landscape improvements. Each element was around £750,000 worth of work. The site is a conservation area and includes a number of listed structures. Morrison Construction, BW's partnership contractor, took on the challenge of working in this historic environment.
I'm going to hand over to Alex Ball, who's going to give you a presentation on what's happening in the basins, because that is fundamentally the most important thing that's happening in Stourport.
Houses, warehouses.
Consultation and communication with local people was an important part of our day-to-day work. This update at Lickhill Community Centre is to the Stourport Forward Partnership and includes members of the Town Council and Police. Once the landscape design had been drawn up by Andrew Davis Partnership, we advertised a consultation event at the Social Day Centre in Stourport and also had the drawings on display at the library over the course of a week. We attended meetings of local interest groups. The Stourport Civic Society were kept informed of the detail as we progressed, were also told of the successes and challenges once the works were complete. With the town being subject to so much investment and change, it was crucial Stourport Forward and British Waterways were seen as being joined up. Groups from slightly further afield also came, out of interest, to visit the project. Here the Worcestershire ambassadors are viewing the works as part of a regular get-together. It was explained to the group about the toll house and the unexpected discovery during the archaeological dig of an underground passage. In August 2006, British Waterways held a Tontine Garden Design Weekend. Its purpose to gain ideas from local people. The archaeologists and British Waterways' own heritage and design specialists were on hand to talk about the history of the basins. Andrew Ashmore Associates provided costume-guided walks of the site.
Today that I might take a short walk.
The information passed on by the actor, in the character of a garden designer, hopefully helped people understand what a garden was doing in the middle of the Canal Basin complex. We received over 50 written responses to our request for ideas, some from the Hereford and Worcester Gardens Trust.
My position is I'm a moorings officer, although I have worked around the basins for the last 2 years. I welcome what's happening to Stourport at the moment, what with the redevelopment of the Lichfield Basin. There is a lot of history around Stourport, and there are a lot of people that come to Stourport that know a lot about it in the past. The main part of it is to introduce the public, to make them more aware of the canal basins, to see how pretty it is, to learn about past history, and to obviously see history that is going to take place for the future, for their children. And as a British Waterways member now, I welcome the fact that the basin's going to be reopened again, and to see again a new bridge where the narrowboats can travel underneath it. I'm not alone with the colleagues that I work with. I mean, there are 4 or 5 people working in Stourport that maintain the basins, keeping them pretty and tidy. With the developments that are taking place for Stourport, whether it be retail and the canal side, come and visit us. You know, at the end of the day, it's a lovely place to be, and there are so many people that actually pass over the bridge and they don't even realise that we're here. You know, take the time to park the car, realise where the basins are, and pop in and have a look. You'll be amazed.
My name is Andy Shaw. I'm a project manager for Morrison Construction, and I've been involved in the British Waterways scheme at Stourport. The footpath towards the River Severn is on the southern limit of the site. It forms part of the Severn-way long-distance footpath. The footpath was renewed with neat edging boards. As it approaches the basins, it forms an important entry point to the town and canals. Resin-bound aggregate finish was applied to a tarmac path. Outside the Angel, a seating and planting scheme was designed to provide a focal point on an approach to the basins, adding to the pleasant environment for drinkers at the pub. Engine Basin and the car park form part of the Riverside Amusement Park site, leased from British Waterways. In early 2006, enhancement works to the west edge of the basins were completed. A new sandstone edge and waterside railings were installed, along with a brand new footpath to the edge of the car park. This tied in nicely with the Riverside Walkway Enhancement Scheme completed in 2005. With some unexpected additional funds from AWM, we were able to completely re-tarmac the parking area. When most holiday boaters arrive at Stourport from the River Severn, they come first into the lock under Bridge 1. This attractive brick bridge has had the top course reset along with the impressive copings. Lime mortar was used to repair most structures, and this bridge is no exception. The walls to the sides of the locks were smartened up and large sandstones replaced deteriorated coping stones. Stourport basins have two wide beam locks, which enable large vessels to pass between the river and the basins. The big chambers needed repair work to tie the walls back to the ground behind. Anchors were inserted into the structure to make the chambers secure. The upper barge lock approach walls in the past had been rendered to cover up brickwork in poor condition. Then the render had failed and had cracked. This allowed water in and vegetation to take hold. The scaffolding was a feat of engineering, considering the battered shape of the walls and the unreliable condition of the canal bed below. The first task was to remove the vegetation, then the render and brick. The new brick matches with other newly built features in the basins, including the new Mart Lane Bridge, constructed by Woodford Environmental. The footbridge over the upper barge lock had signs of movement in the brickwork. The wall was taken down and a new wall built in its place. A large amount of contingency money was spent on the upper barge lock to provide a grout curtain to the west of the lock chamber, following the appearance of seeping water on the new brick facing. Generally, the lower basins had suffered deterioration and has been repaired in the past with a number of different materials. Many of the stones to the lower wharf had sunk, and new material had just been added on top to try and provide a straight edge to the basin. Platforms and boats were utilised to make access easier for the workmen. Rocket masonry were called in by Morrison to cut and install large new stones to replace many lengths of edging in this area. The weir between Engine Lane and the lower basins had all its bricks taken up and relaid. The works to the edges of the basins took many weeks. During this phase, the second Restoration Update newsletter was produced. It explained the works ongoing on site. Woodford Environmental were the owners of the land on which once stood the Lichfield Basin, or Furthermost Basin as it used to be known by the canal workers. While the British Waterways restoration works were underway, a significant amount of demolition was required on this site. Woodford reinstated the old basin in a slightly reduced form. They also built a new bridge to enable vehicles on Mart Lane to drive over the access into the new basin. On the opposite side to the new basin is the upper basin. This basin forms part of the restoration site. Morrison carried out minimal repairs to the wharf building or rug shop. These repairs included new windows, minor brick repairs and repainting the facade. Believed to be the oldest warehouse built purposely for the canals, it stands proud facing the completely new bridge on Mart Lane. The Yacht Club, central to the Basins, is an iconic building in Stourport. British Waterways is the owner of the building, but unusually, the Town Council owned the clock. The council carried out repairs to the clock in 2005. The roof covering needed to be replaced. These large diminishing course slates were removed and any sound slates set aside. Underneath the wrapping, the windows and doors were also being replaced. New felt and battens were added. The new slates were also laid in diminishing courses, and this took a number of weeks. Mart Lane cottages and warehouse occupy the north end of the site and flank the main vehicular route in. The only remaining crane is also located here, and this was the first item to be restored. The chandlery, or Mart Lane warehouse, was in a poor state through neglect and inappropriate past repairs. Morrison were instructed to remove the cement mortar which had been previously used to repoint all the brickwork. British Waterways approved the use of power tools after a sample area had been done. The building was repaired with lime mortar. A local sign writer repainted the old Canal Company signage, which was extended onto the north elevation to act as a signifier of the basins to passing traffic. The windows, doors and shop front were replaced. Here you can see reclaimed slates from the Yacht Club. The cottages on Mart Lane were in better condition. The project funds focus on the street elevation and particularly the windows and doors. Repairs and replacements were carried out as necessary. A number of chimney pots were also replaced. There are other cottages near to the river which were included in the restoration project. An important objective of the works was to restore garden walls and railings to improve the group value of the properties. The brick walls were repaired and repainted, and the unsightly blockwork wall had a new brick skin and sandstone coping. The replica railings really finished the wall off well. On the main riverside property, 5 Severn side, British Waterways took the decision to return the windows to sashes. The old shop front style bay window was added in place of the unsympathetic square window. The south elevation required repointing in lime. Blind windows were repainted to restore symmetry. Two relatively modern buildings were repaired. the Lichfield Basin Office and York Street Ticket Office. The Basin Office had a new roof, new staircase, repainted sign and general repairs. The colour scheme of the two buildings matches to show they were built at the same time.
My name is Steve Filer from Commercial Diving and Marine Services. We are specialist marine and underwater engineers. We've been asked to come down to the ancient city of Stourport to conduct some underwater survey work on the Dock Basin project, which is currently under restoration. The work involves principally inspecting the lower sections of Canal wall and also some areas in the dock. Our work involves the inspection of the underwater sections of the brickwork to locate any defects such as cavities, voids or collapsed areas. The way that we actually do this is when the diver is deployed, we have a communication system, so as the diver moves progressively along any section of wall, he can relay to the surface the condition of the wall, which is recording for a survey report. Any major defects will be repaired in a specialised way. This involves the removal of sedimentary material on the bottom, such as river mud and silt, and concrete formwork is actually installed and pressure grouting is applied. This restores the original condition back to the structure and prevents further collapse. Underwater visibility is always a problem. In this particular location we can get sort of a limited amount of visibility, probably about half a metre, but quite often and most of the time in our particular type of inland civil engineering work the visibility is zero, so we are sort of working on a tactile basis. Stourport is a tremendously interesting area. We originate originally from York, which again is a very historical city. And Stourport is equally as interested in my opinion. We've seen old photographs of the area which date back to the early sort of 19th century with the old barges and the horses and so on and so forth, and with us being in the diving industry and it's all water related, it's a fascinating sort of area and we're very privileged to be involved in this project.
To the north of the canal basins, Woolfield Bridge and York Street Lock form the entrance to the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal. Outside the boundary of the restoration project, this lock was repaired in autumn 2007 by British Waterways maintenance staff. In addition to the lock gates being replaced, a lock counter was put in to enable British Waterways to calculate the number of boats going in and out of the basins.
At the same time as the Basins restoration, the County Council carried out over £1 million worth of repair and safety improvements to the main River Severn road bridge. The people of Stourport were part of this project too, helping with the choice of colours for the bridge. The Tontine Hotel was sold in 2006 to a developer. On the 22nd of August 2006, members of the Town Council and past and present owners gathered for a small ceremony to open the new Mark Lane Bridge. Barratt Homes bought the new basin in 2007 to build 144 new houses and apartments. On Saturday the 28th of October 2006, we held our first event associated with the Arts Commissions programme.
My name is Nikki Dupay. I'm an artist illustrator and I'm working today on the Big Draw event, which is part of the National Drawing Week, hosted by the Arts Council and British Waterways in this case. And we're working with families, with children of all ages today, so we've had adults and kids all drawing around the basin and then translating their drawings into collages back in the tent. We've had a great day so far. We've had adults, a old age pensioners right down to really young children aged 2 and 3 working here, making collages. And the idea is that we're all going to make one large piece of artwork, which hopefully will, by the end of the day, be completely covered in paper and tissue, mixed media and so on. The theme we're working on today is called Drawing Water, and I've just asked people to look at the wonderful sights around the Canal basin, the reflections in the water, all the patterns of the locks and the gates and bridges, trees, so on. So there's loads of inspiration, and people are going off with paper and pencils and just doing drawings on the spot and then coming back to the tent to make their collages. So I'm taking photographs of the artwork as we're going along, and the conclusion will be that we will make a postcard of the artwork, and I will also be using it as inspiration for my own work, and I'll be producing a piece of art in the next few weeks which will be held by British Waterways, kept down here for the public to see.
In summer 2007, a series of activities were provided for children, local and holiday makers. Some events were theatre performances. This one is the Pied Piper.
Would you like to hear the story, everybody? Now, here I have my scarf. But what colour is my scarf? I will pay you 50,000. Come! Very good. Stop them, but the power of the music was... How important it is for us all to have friends.
Some days involve the children running around and finding clues or hidden treasure. This activity encouraged families to explore all corners of the lower basins.
Who is it? Hello, everybody. Hello. Oh, that wasn't very loud. Let's try that again. I said hello, everybody.
Even though the weather was very wet during the summer of 2007, we only had to cancel one event of the 5.
The dragon. Yes. Boys and girls. 3.
This performance of George and the Dragon was very well attended, with over 100 in the audience. The publishing of Stourport, pioneer town of the Canal Age, by English Heritage is testament to the national significance of Stourport. We raised the profile of the restoration project, now over halfway, through interviews with radio and newspapers.
Are you keeping a record of the whole programme?
The book launch in May 2007 gave the Restoration Partnership a chance to come together with other organisations, including English Heritage, to celebrate our progress. We were fortunate to have both British Waterways and English Heritage chairmen in attendance, local dignitaries, including the town mayor, and local history experts. Tim Johnson, Regional Director of English Heritage, introduced Sir Neil Cousins, who spoke of the strategic importance of Stourport during the Industrial Revolution. Tony Hales, British Waterways chairman, followed and expressed his delight at the community and arts elements of the restoration project. Some aspects of the restoration works were carried out by volunteers. Dave Slight, a conservation specialist, taught volunteers how to repair a wall with lime mortar. All volunteers on this task had to have a day's training with Dave to learn the basics. This wall forms the boundary to the former Tontine Hotel garden. The volunteers are instructed to rake out the old mortar and replace with new using special pointing irons. The final construction phase was the landscape improvements and therefore involved more than just conservation and repair. The arts-led master plan by Proposit and British Waterways architects featured strongly in the designs by Arup and local firm Andrew Davis Partnership.
The Tontine Garden improvement started in March 2008. We received an additional grant from Biffret Ward for this area, giving us just over £100,000 to spend on the garden. The work consisted of new entrances, allowing access into the garden for the first time without steps. The new piers were pointed with lime mortar to match the adjacent sections of wall. There was considerable amount of earth moving and removal off-site to make the levels meet those on the designer's plans. Existing copings and bricks were set aside for reuse. The main entrance at the bottom of the garden was improved. Steps which allow access up and down the garden were replaced. A new fence to separate the garden from the private area of the Tontine was designed to reflect the railings which were once around the original Georgian garden. Once all the earth moving was complete and the benches and surfacing, the grass seed was sown. Mart Lane improvements started in November 2007. The first task was the removal of the modern raised planting area. This had never functioned well as a pedestrian space, and the intention to lower it and make it less intrusive would improve the visibility of the basin from Mart Lane. New paving and a sandstone retaining wall made the area next to the water more inviting. An extract from John Fennyhouse Green's Daybook from 1769 is inscribed in true Baskerville font, describing the field and his surveying of it before the construction of the basins. New bespoke 8-metre high lights, 5 in total, were built around the main basin. The philosophy behind the design is to remind us of the movement of goods and materials from land to boat by cranes. Cycle stands, information boards and benches make this space more useful. Work on site included changes to the beginning of Mart Lane to open up views and access into the basins. Now only partly in the ownership of British Waterways, the area was radically designed to make a car park as interesting as possible. The waterfront overlooking the clock warehouse received new paving and tarmac to finish off the areas where the copings had previously been renewed. New paving, lighting and bollards make a mundane car park much more dynamic and contemporary. The crane lights match the locations of the original cranes, which served this wharfside and warehouse. The remaining warehouse, named the Iron Warehouse, is the design inspiration for the shape of the unique bollards used around the upper basin. The bollards are rusty iron to emphasise their relationship to the Iron Warehouse. The text refers to the instruction by James Brindley to John Fennyhouse Green to survey the land for the construction of the basins and warehouses. The landscape improvements also aim to replace unsightly modern materials to the lock sides. Concrete quadrants were broken out, and new brick sheeting and foot grips were set out with care and laid to improve the setting of the locks.
We've been coming to Stourport for about 12 years because we've owned boats for all that length of time. We love it down here. It's a really nice place to come for a weekend or a bank holiday. And what's going on around here is just marvellous really for the boaters and the visitors to the town. We love the idea that the old basins are being opened up again and they're going to be used. And it's just going to regenerate the whole area. I think the facilities they've put in now for the boaters here are wonderful, and I was really surprised today to come down and find that the shower was free, hence I've made use of it. But it really makes it worthwhile coming down, and you've got the laundry, the toilets, the shower. Great, what more can you ask for? I was a bit confused when I drove down here a few weeks ago that the layout of the road has changed, but I can see that when it's all finished it will be much easier access by car. And for people walking around and getting to all the facilities. So all in all, I'm all in favour of what they're doing. It's great.
We believe the restoration project has been a success and hope to see tourism increase in the Wyre Forest area as a result.
The social inclusive elements of the project, including education, training and a volunteer programme. This DVD was produced by one of our volunteers and we are grateful for his input. Alex and I would like to thank you for the role you have played in the success of this project.
If you want to find out more about the basins and events going on in and around the town, visit stourporttown.co.uk.